Welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. My name is Teresa. I'm a watercolor artist and surface pattern designer. This channel is all about embracing an intuitive approach to art. In today's video, we're going to paint this loose watercolor iris. It may look complicated here, but I'm going to show you how to do it in just a few easy, stress-free steps. So what do I mean by loose? Well, this simply means a lack of detail. With watercolor, one way we can achieve loose is by using a lot of water. So the more realistic the artwork, the tighter the painting. The less realistic the artwork, the looser the painting. Loose watercolors are a freer way of painting. Since we're not trying to paint the flower exactly, the pressure's off, right? Let's take a really quick look at a picture of an iris. I found this one on Unsplash, a free use website. This one's by James Morden, if you would like to go and find it. I want to just look at this quickly and pick out a few general characteristics that catch my eye about this flower. I like these colors. The petal edges are frilly. I really like that. And the shape of an iris is very distinctive. So irises usually have a set of petals that go upward in this rounded shape, and then they have some that fall downward this way. So that's very distinctive. I just want to pick that up. Let's see what else. I also noticed that this stem is very thick, which makes sense since the flower itself, the bulb is not the bulb, but you know, the bloom is fairly large, so it makes sense that it would have a large stem as well. So I want to think about that a little bit. But all these other details I'm not going to worry about. Now, it's your painting, so you go with whatever you like about this. The key to intuitive painting is to follow your instincts, not somebody else's. So that's what's fun about art, is that you do it the way you want to do it. And with loose watercolors, you just pick out the essence of what you want to get across to the viewer. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's first prep our paints by hydrating them with little spritz of water. I really like this little spray bottle because it gives me more control over how much water I add. Then I'm going to take my brush and get them the consistency that I want, or mix colors if I need to do that. But I want them not too watery, but definitely more liquidy than if I were painting in a tight style with lots of detail and realism. So I'll just kind of play with this, get some colors going here. The purples, I'm not really going to change the color of this purple. I really like this purple, but I do want to add a little water to it and get it ready. Now, all the supplies that I'm using are listed below with links, and as an Amazon associate, I earn from qualified purchases when you use my links. Okay, let's load the brush, and I'll just start with one particular petal. You know, just pick any petal that you want, and we're just gonna let our brush find its way. I'm really not trying to do anything specific here. I just know the basic shape that I want to give it. I'm not trying too hard to sketch it out. I'm going to add a little extra clean water in there and then touch it with straight pigment and watch it flow. That's so much fun to watch that. But now don't touch it, because if you go back and you try to touch it, you could create blooms or you know, merge that. You'll ruin that fluid look. Now we're doing another petal. Again, I'm just laying down the base layer and then touching it with some concentrated pigment and letting that pigment bleed into the moist areas. Then when I dip my brush back in another color, I can add it to this first color and they will mix and mingle on their own. It's very easy to just twirl your brush and just play with it, get some general shapes down. I'm really not being very specific here. Now I'll add a little water sometimes if I want to soften an edge there, or if I'm like now I'm adding a different color. I'm adding the purple into that cerise, which is kind of that magenta color. Then those two colors can mix and make that lovely, lovely watercolor painterly look. And I just like to play with it, drop in different colors. Once you lay down that first layer, then any other layer, any other color that you add to it, you want to just touch it. Don't like brush it into the second color unless you're just going to barely touch it. But I wouldn't want to brush on top of another color while it's still wet, because then you're really mixing two colors and making a third color. But if you just drop that second color in on top of it, they will merge on their own. And as you can see already, we have kind of a basic iris shape. And I do want to put this yellow in the center just to represent a little stamen, you know, kind of thing. And then I'm going to go out here with some clean water, and it wasn't very clean because I had a little bit of yellow left on my brush, which is great. But I just want to give some hints of some petals out here. I don't want to give a lot of information. I just want to hint at some information. I love that about loose watercolors is you don't have to give very much detail at all. And then if I want to take some of that up, I can dry my brush and touch it and remove some pigment or water if it gets too much moisture in it. As you can see, I've got quite a bit of pooling going on here, which personally I like. A lot of artists really do not like pooling, but with the kind of painting that I do and as loosely as I'm painting, I like a lot of water. I can always remove it later, but it gives me the opportunity to continue to drop in colors for a little longer because I have so much moisture there. And like I said, we're going to remove some of this in a minute after I finish doing all I want to do. And I'm also using cold pressed paper because it dries slower. Hot pressed paper will dry very fast, and it's very hard to work with if you're going to do something loose like this because you keep having to put water on it, and that makes your paper buckle, and it's a little bit of a struggle. So cold pressed is really what I find to be better. So now I'm just kind of sitting back and looking at it and watching it as it dries and deciding, where do I want to add a little more color? A little more water, a little more color. Try not to drop in colors where it's dry already, because those will cause hard lines, or it could cause a bloom as well. It kind of depends on how much moisture you have in your brush, but it will not give you the look that you're really going for. So really I'm just looking and watching and seeing, okay, what do I need to do now? And see how fast this happened? It's very fast to paint this way, and you just take your time, look and see. I've put quite a bit here in the center, and the yellow and the purple will tend to make some brown. So we might have to readdress that, but right now I'm thinking about the stem, and I want to load my brush up really well, but I don't want too much water. So as you see, I'm letting the water kind of release back into the palette when I get too much water or pigment on it. I'm just trying to get a feel for how much do I want, is this the color I want? And we want a thick stem, so I'm going to kind of go slowly here, and I'm letting that green bleed into some of those colors because that's kind of a fun look too. And I'm just going to drag down this stem, and as you see, I've had a little bit too much water, so I wiped it on the towel just to get rid of some of that water. And now I'm going to pull this down. And as you see, it looks a little bit fluorescent there, but it's really not. That's just the lights in my studio reflecting on all that water. Then I'm going to go drop in some other greens. I really like 3 greens are my favorite. Sap green is my base always, and then olive green pairs well with that, and then this darker green, see if I say this right, Terry Very Brulee. I think is how you say that. If I'm getting that incorrect, then let me know. But that really is such a deep color. It looks beautiful with the sap green and the olive green. And as you can see, there are different greens in my brush still, so it gives this leaf a nice texture because the different greens are not completely mixed together. I love that look. This is a mop brush. It's a number 3 Da Vinci brush. I love this brush. It's very, very good for loose watercolors because it holds so much moisture. Mop brushes are usually a teardrop shape where they have a very fat belly and they come to a bit of a point, which this one does, as you can see, and that just helps, you know, so that you don't have to keep changing paintbrushes while you're painting, because you can use that point to drop in other colors or to remove some liquid, which I will do here in just a second. I'm noticing, yes, like I thought that yellow has mixed a little bit on the top petal with the purple and made a little bit too much brown. I don't mind a little bit of that yellow, purple, brown, but not on the tops of my petals there. You know, a lot of times with irises you kind of see a little bit of a brown tone towards the inside, but I want this top petal to be more of a purple. So I removed some of that just by touching it and then wiping it on the towel, and now I'm dropping in more purple to bring that up. So when you remove moisture, you want to be sure to just touch it once and then wipe your brush on the towel. Then touch it again and wipe your brush on the towel. Otherwise, if you touch something 2 or 3 times with your brush, all you're doing is distributing or redistributing your moisture and your pigment. So you really need to brush on top of the towel between every time you touch it. There's a little petal here that a little too much purple has bled into because they touched, which is fine. It's no problem, but I do want to remove that. I wanted that to be a little bit lighter color. So I've just removed that and adding a little yellow here. And I'm just reassessing what do I want to do now. Okay, I think I'm going to call this done. I'm pretty happy with it. I hope that you were able to see how much fun loose watercolors can be, especially if you just take your time, relax, and give over some of the control to the watercolors and let them do what they do best. You know, let them do the mixing and mingling. And I think you'll be happier with your watercolor paintings if you can do that. I know that's a little bit of a struggle. You know, with acrylics and oils, we tend to want to really manipulate the paint, but in watercolors, if you can allow the watercolors to do part of the work for you, it really does give a more lovely painterly appearance. So I hope you'll give this a try, and please like and subscribe. Hit that bell and you'll be notified the next time I post a video. Thanks so much and have a glorious day.